Hey guys, in today's farm update video, we're going to be showing harvesting of spinach, and my dad's going to be walking through some of the different processes that they're using this year growing spinach. That was filmed last week, and this week we're actually showing all of that being torn out and the beds being prepped and flipped for Salanova planting that's going in any day now. So we also are showing an unboxing of a shipment that came in from AEA a few weeks ago, and my dad's going to be talking about all the different fertilizers he's using from them and what he likes about them. So follow along. Also, if you're new to this channel, my name is Jonathan. I grew up on this farm. My family has been farming for 28 years. And in 2012, I started a company called Farmer's Friend, where we develop, manufacture, and distribute products specifically for market farms and serious home gardeners. And if you're interested in learning more about what we offer, go to our website, farmersfriend.com. So they just harvested spinach for tomorrow's deliveries. And at this point, you're doing pretty frequent successions of spinach, right?
Yeah, well, we're really experimenting, and it's always rewarding when you start learning from your former interns. So shout out to Keith Hankins up at Paradise Fields in Ontario, Canada. But
okay.
he is doing a lot of single-cut spinach, and we really haven't done that before, to be honest. You know, we've done a lot of spinach in the fall, winter, and early spring, but it's like harvesting single leaves kind of thing. So this is new. He said it's all about really packing it in, and he feels like a key is soaking the seed for at least 4 hours before planting. So you soak it, lay it out, dry it out, and then seed it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, surely if it's wet, you can't run it through the seeder.
No.
So you're soaking it, then drying it, and then seeding. And you're using your JP3 seeder.
JP3, now he uses a JP5, so he's getting 10 rows. I started out trying to use the 4 rows so I could get 12 rows, and I quickly gave that up. So these are only 6 rows per bed. He was here a couple weeks ago, and he said it needs to be more crowded.
Okay.
You know, you're wanting to force the leaves upright. So we have started our latest seeding. We used the JP3 and seeded and then offset it a little bit. So we're getting 12 rows to the bed.
Okay.
And we'll see how that works.
Oh, that's going to be dense.
Yeah, very dense.
But the denser it is, the more it kind of pushes it up. And the main benefit of that is mechanically harvesting, right?
Exactly. Yeah, using the greens harvester. So it's a one cut. You know, if you try to cut it again, you're going to have a lot of already cut leaves and stuff. It's just not worth it. Actually, what we're thinking to do is let it regrow and harvest it, a second harvest for our new freeze dryer.
Okay.
Freeze-dried spinach powder. So,
cool.
You know,
yeah, that seems like it would work out well.
It's like it seems like a free harvest when you've already. Yeah, it doesn't need to look pretty. And it doesn't stay pretty very long in the spring. You know, you can see this was harvested, I guess, just on Monday. I don't know. And it's
so looks like you're having some nutrient issues here. You mentioned spinach is challenging.
A super heavy feeder, and also if you notice right around the sprinklers, it seems that we got too much water on it and leached out some nutrients, and it was definitely much smaller right around the sprinklers.
Okay.
So I mean, this is a new learning curve. But spinach is popular enough that we feel like it's worth experimenting with, and we're going to see how far we can go into the summer, just planting a bed each week.
Okay, cool. And you're using the Quick Cut Greens harvester for harvesting, which really expedites the harvesting process. And if you have a dense planting and the leaves are pushed more vertically, it works pretty well.
Now, the one thing Keith was telling me, this is a lizard variety, which was what Johnny's had. But you have issues with the cotyledons. standing too upright. And he said that's what will rot first and, you know, spoil your mix.
Interesting.
So he said you want to be looking for varieties where the cotyledons will just lay down flat.
Okay.
Anyway, it's exciting. I mean, we have spinach right now, so that's good.
Yep. This is where the arugula and spinach was harvested last week, and this afternoon I had the opportunity to help clean out these beds and get them ready for a Salanova planting that's going in. So what we've done is we used the Valley Oak Wheel Hoe that we manufacture and sell at Farmer's Friend, and this is this is a 12-inch blade here, and we use that to undercut the crop, and then it makes it easy to just pull it up. So all of the leftover crop residue was pulled up. We shake the dirt off as much as possible, and then it's put on the compost pile and circulated back into the ecosystem. So once that is done, we use various different rakes. This is kind of a tine leaf rake that works pretty good, and we also have the bed prep rake, and we use these to clean out all of the crop debris. And then they sprayed the soil primer, put down a little bit of feather meal, and now the quick plant fabric is going back down. It'll be wet, watered in good tonight, and then tomorrow they'll be planting more Salanova. At Farmer's Friend, we're always talking to customers, and we hear a lot of questions about soil health, soil fertility, you know, soil testing. There's a lot of different, it can be a tricky topic for people to understand. And what makes it so much trickier is that there isn't any one solution that's going to work for everybody. Every location across the country has different challenges and, you know, different things that are naturally higher in the soil and different things that they have more deficits in, or whether it's sandy soil or clay soil. It's just so many different variations across the country. So there's no one size fits all, and that's why it's such a challenge for people, because they actually have to try to learn and develop their own protocol for their location. So we got some boxes of goodies here, so we're going to do just a good old-fashioned unboxing.
Yeah, Christmas on the farm.
So, but before we do that, Dad, talk a little bit about you know, the process that you've gone through and leading up to working with AEA and what's in the boxes.
Yeah, well, we could talk a lot about that because, you know, it's been a 28-year journey now. Yeah, we started just piling on the compost, and it was only after years of doing that, compost, worm castings, whatever we could get our hands on, that we started doing soil testing and found out that we were super high in phosphorus. And, you know, they're saying don't put on any compost, which just was almost more than I could handle.
Sacrilegious for a
yeah, it was
market farmer.
It was traumatic to hear that. So we did cut way back. In fact, I think we cut out all compost for a couple of years, and we're doing what the soil tests were recommending, adding, you know, chemistry, nutrients to the soil, and the plants were still looking good. You know, they were doing well, but it seemed like the soil was just kind of, it looked very dead, lifeless.
Okay.
And so then we started using peat moss, because peat moss is not going to throw your numbers around too much. And so we started doing that, and then finding non-manure based sources of compost. You know, it's really, from what I understand, it's largely the manure in the compost that's really going to throw you off. And so, yeah, and
is
I think
that any kind of manure?
Well, obviously different manures have different, you know, levels of nutrients and so on. You know, I know chicken manure is very high in phosphorus, But I think all manures tend to have a lot of phosphorus, which is what we're trying to stay away from.
Okay.
So, you know, if you need phosphorus, I have no problem with manures if you know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
You know, with all the GMOs and factory farms and so on, I would want to know I had a clean source of compost if it was manure based.
How was
for us,
sorry.
it's just been better to stay away from manures.
How was the high phosphorus levels impacting? How were you seeing it in the plant health, or what was kind of the trigger for researching that?
That's a good question that I honestly don't have a good answer for. It was just discovered through the actual testing.
Okay.
You know, I've never seen any physical signs of excessive phosphorus.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not even sure what you look for with that. The one thing I have had a lot of questions on, from my research, high phosphorus can really impact the soil life in a negative way, and I've always felt that our soil life has not been as robust as it should be, and I need to do more testing on that, honestly. But anyway, that kind of leads into AEA, because I would say they have two focuses. One is bringing life back to the soil, and the other is, I would call it supplemental foliar fertility.
Okay.
You know, another thing we ran into over the years was, like with our tomatoes and stuff, coming into summer with the heat, you know, they were showing signs of deficiency of things that we knew we'd put lots of in the soil, particularly potassium. And it became clear that just because it's in the soil doesn't mean the plant's able to take it up for either environmental reason, you know, it's too hot or whatever. And of course now I'm also learning about the VPD, vapor pressure deficit, which you had Alan Seiler talking about. Mm-hmm. It makes a lot more sense that the plants in the heat just can't, either too hot or too humid. Yeah. They're not able to take up nutrients.
Yep.
So anyway, the foliar feeding is just a way to try to help the plant when it can't do it like it wants to itself, I guess you'd say. So
with the AEA protocol that you're following, you are intentionally trying to improve the soil, but you're also, there's an aspect of it that's just giving the plant what it needs to grow, which I think, from my understanding, and I'm no soil scientist, but that's kind of one of the key aspects of the different methodologies. Obviously on the commercial ag side of it, they're not really, from my understanding, putting too much emphasis into soil health and whatever. It's just put fertilizers on there that is everything the plants need to grow, and kind of care less about the soil biology and stuff like that.
I mean, that's kind of the broad view of conventional versus organic. You know, conventional is feeding the plant, mm-hmm. and organic is feeding the soil and letting the soil feed the plant.
It's a more holistic, ecosystem-driven kind of approach,
which
is great, and it sounds all nice and fancy, but at the same time, there is so much nuance and so much that goes into that, and it's very challenging to get all the ecosystem pieces balanced. So that's probably why they're taking kind of a two-pronged approach to it. So it makes a lot of sense.
So we are using them, and we like what we see. You know, we're trying to really focus on inoculating the soil with good biology, and then just having that kind of I guess, multivitamin supplement kind of approach to make sure we're getting what we need.
Well, let's
So
crack
see
open the
what's
boxes.
in here. Benji, you want to come look?
You want to help open the boxes, Benjamin? No.
I will just say, if you try to order this stuff online on their website, I don't know, there's something with their program that they'll charge you exorbitant prices for shipping.
Okay.
So you have to get a quote from them directly. Okay, so this is Sea Shield. This is something we add to the soil. It's basically fish hydrolysate with crab and shrimp shell. And, you know, if you know anything about those things, of course, so it has a total nitrogen of 2%, available phosphate 1%. Well, that's 1% we don't really want, but that's not a lot. So again, I know I've said it before, but one thing I love about AEA is they tell you exactly what's in it, and it's not any proprietary or any stuff you don't know. I mean, crab and shrimp shell are high in chitin, which I know, again, I know enough to know it's good for the soil, but I can't explain exactly why. Then there's Rejuvenate, which is derived from molasses, and that's a good thing. The sugars in the soil, magnesium chloride, and seaweed. So those are all good things. This one is, this is a new product I'm anxious to try on our strawberries. This is their first disease control product. It's called Pinion. It's supposed to deal with different fungi and bacteria, but it's just sucrose, glucose, fructose. No, those are the inert ingredients. The active ingredients are citric acid and cinnamon oil.
Cinnamon oil.
So, you know, there's nothing like a good smelling
I was gonna say,
fungicide.
It's gonna smell like cinnamon rolls going on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, they've got it all taped up here.
Well,
So
good for them, because these things are notorious for leaking.
let's just take a swig of this.
Does it smell like cinnamon? What's
A little bit.
Yeah, it sure does. Wow. Never heard
Yeah,
of cinnamon oil. It also kind of smells weird.
It doesn't smell good enough to eat, I guess we'll say that. What else do we have?
Rejuvenate.
We talked about that one.
Yeah.
Macro Pack, that's kind of a macronutrient thing. 2% nitrogen. Again, I'm a little worried about that 2% phosphate, 2% potash, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. So again, you know, this is not, you're not trying to feed the plant just with this. This is a supplemental feeding to kind of, this is sea stem, which is basically kelp. You know, and obviously you can get kelp from a lot of different places. I will say this stuff is not cheap. That's another one of sea stem. I think this is micro pack, so this is all your micronutrients.
Okay.
Sulfur, boron, cobalt, copper. So yeah, you could probably find all these things cheaper somewhere else, but just like I guess I said that I didn't think people would be willing to buy Caterpillar tunnel kits when they could make them themselves. Now I'm willing to pay a little extra just to have the convenience of, you know, you do 6 ounces of this and 2 ounces of that.
It is nice. So all of this is liquid, so you're going to be either spraying this foliar or fertigating through your irrigation?
Yep, we do both of those things. And there should be some little pack, well, no, actually, I guess the packets, the actual biology comes from a different company that AEA works with. It's a company called Tainio, Tainio.
Okay.
And they do all the fungi and biology.
Okay. Interesting.
So,
well, it seems like a cool product, and you guys have been using this now for a couple years, right?
yeah, I think 3 years.
Okay.
And
so
we definitely,
the results are positive.
You know, 2 years ago when we were last involved in the strawberries and I sprayed faithfully with this stuff, we had the best crop we've ever had in, you know, 20, well, at that time it was 26 years, I guess, of growing strawberries. So, you know, well, something's working.
Yeah, right. Something's helping. So,
and I, you know, even though it's not cheap, I have always said, and I still stand by the statement that any money we spend on the soil is never wasted.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you're enjoying this content, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. We like to engage with our audience. And until next time, happy growing.